What's happening, party people? Welcome to Blues Lawyer Confessional. This is Jack.
This is Matt Esquire.
So Matt recently played a gig, and I made the choice to bring a 30-watt solid state, I can call it vintage Gibson amp, to play. As you advised me that the 30-watt PV plastic that I have would be too big, and obviously my 140-watt PV would also be too big. Matt, and we're not going to have the discussion over modeling versus tube amps or solid state, but there are certain guitar-related gear items that are going extinct or no longer useful or even usable in this modern world. And so what are some things that come to your mind, Matt, of guitar items that no longer have a place in this modern civilized society in which we live?
I hate to say it, but the giant Tyrannosaurus Rex of guitars, the 4x12 cab. I mean, you and I grew up with MTV and all the videos with the guys in front of the full stacks. But where are you going to use a full stack?
Well, counter. Most people use the half stack. You don't stack the 4x12s on top of each other. So I'll excuse that and say yes. But I think there's a visual of it. So let's say I've played on stages that are largish, and like having a little combo amp sitting out there is like weird looking, and having a big 4x12, even if it's turned down or even if it's not plugged in, just looks more visually appealing, as we've said. However, more and more, there's no amps on stages now, right? Everyone's going through amp sims and DI stuff. So yes, I'm with you that the 4x12 cabinet is a thing of the past. As real estate gets more and more expensive, people can't afford to live in houses that are far enough from other people to where you actually get to enjoy it. I'm fortunate enough to have invested space and heavy density insulation to make that possible. I will assign you a point for that. Putting it in the book.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it also comes down to, let's say you got to get rid of the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to buy it?
Yeah, it's pickup only, local pickup only on Reverb, right?
Yeah, because no guitar shop wants it because they can't sell it. Plus, if you're an old fart like me, let's say I was playing a gig. You think I want to be schlepping that? I don't. I can't.
Well,
I'm lucky to be 50 years old without a herniated disc.
There's two handles, and so you get a friend, and each of you grabs a handle, and you carry it up. Look, my 4x12 is only like 75 pounds, and it's very large, and you got to hold the whole thing out your body like that. No, it sucks taking it up and down the steps. I've carried it up a catwalk. I mean, the head alone is also 50 pounds. I have a 140 watt head. It's about 50 pounds, and I have an airplane case for it. And that's when I got a road crew. It's like, hey, you guys get it up the steps. I'm going to get my guitar picks organized in my pocket. I also think bass amps in general, have no place in society anymore. What are your thoughts on that? I'll posit that. And every bass player, I'm just waiting. Please, angry comments now. I'm going to pin the best one. But I don't see a world where I actually would need to bring a bass amp to play anything anymore.
I remember way back, freshman year of college, they were shooting a movie right outside our dorms. And every morning at like 5:30, the movie crew would be shouting, all their orders. And we were college students, so we wanted to freaking sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And my neighbor, he finally got fed up with it. He took his bass amp and put it out the window and just started playing, just to screw with them. And which is the bottom line, which is it's freaking loud.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in an apartment, how are you running a bass amp? That's a really good way to meet your local cop who's going to come from the noise complaint. So, I mean, I just have a little Rumble 40, and that's plenty for me in my house.
The utility is live, right? And I have a variety of large bass amps, and I do, playing outside, I like it. I have more fun with that. But for the average guitar player who happens to play bass, click the video here to go check out that video on how to be like me and be a guitar player who plays bass sometimes. You get a MXR DI Plus, any other bass DI goes into the board, a little bit of the monitor mix. No one's going to know the difference. Yeah, I want to get through a list without mentioning like modeling versus tube amps. But
Modeling, a few months back, the Gen 3 came out, and again,
Katana,
yeah,
yeah.
and it just automatically devalued all of the Mark IIs. What's the difference? Not much, except for the fact that now the Mark II is not worth as much.
Or it doesn't cost as much because it doesn't.
It doesn't cost as
It
much.
doesn't suck all of a sudden. It
No,
just
no. Look, I love my little Mark II. It's fun, and frankly, I'm keeping it, and I have no interest in the Gen 3 because it doesn't offer any value add for me. But that's the thing, is the technology just keeps getting better. One of my first fancy amps, like after I was done with my crappy little PV Rage back in 2006, I had Vox 8050 VT, which was a very primitive modeling amp. Simulated, I think it was like 12 different types of amps. It sounded fine, but I ultimately got rid of it because it was just collecting dust in my basement. And at that point, I had pulled all of the value out of it. I think I got $50 for it. It's obsolete. And I think that's the thing, is all of these digital based modeling amps, they're obsolete. They're also semi-disposable. If something breaks, no tech can fix it.
also you can easily replace it for like $150 Tonex pedal
Yeah.
that you run through the PA. One thing I was just thinking about the other day as I was packing up stuff was hard cases, in that hard cases for playing a gig I think is really, really important, especially if you're loading a bunch of stuff into a van. But if you're just a person who's playing guitar and occasionally meeting up with friends to jam, there's no reason in this universe why you need to eat up, well, at least an entire closet and a crawl space of hard cases to occasionally, be out in your car. So I think we don't need hard cases anymore in general in this world. And I have enough where I could just like, oh, I'm going to slide this SG into this one SG case and then like go live my life. And the rest of them, I'm not going to get rid of them because like no one wants them either. But I don't think hard cases are a necessary thing in today society.
Fine. At me in the comments. I don't care. Call me a fanboy. I don't care. I think Gibson kind of made the right call, so to speak, a few years back when they steered away from including hard cases on the lower end models and started doing their soft cases.
Mm-hmm.
Not, it wasn't the $20 crappy gig bag that you used to get.
It's the leathery. It's
really
like Taylor.
decent.
It's like Taylor does the leathery, like thick ones. Yeah.
Yeah, it's structured. I hear you. I would rather have a mono bag than another Gibson hardshell case. And I think Gibson saying, you know what, screw it. We're shipping these things out anyways. It's extra weight for us to ship, which increases our costs. I've got a coat closet filled with cases.
I'm staring. I mean, I don't hate it, but I'm staring at an entire closet right here. It's just wall to wall, and then sideways, and then the shelves above it of empty guitar. Well, there's guitars in some of those cases too, but all the cases in there. And then I've got folded up bags. Every time Alicia looks at it, she's like, why is that like that? I'm like, I don't know, and I can't change. So here we are.
It plays into our hoarding instinct or whatever.
When I was playing a couple times a week out and loading up a shitty red van, you had to have the hard case because like the people were throwing things in and out, like they were sort of being careful, but things are stacking on top of each other. You make a couple rough turns and things. Okay, like my amp head, my airline case, you can throw the amp off a bridge, and it'll survive. Like there's a value, but I think for the average, I say for 95% of people, a really good solid. We're not getting sponsored by Mono today, so I don't want to talk about them. But a solid, a structured soft bag is sufficient to perfectly fine for most utilities, and then every other time, it's up on the wall and it's fine.
Going back to going out and playing a gig or a blues jam or what have you. I mean,
blues jam.
PRS actually stopped putting PRS on the outside of their bags because they knew it was a giant steal me sign.
Yep.
Putting Gibson on your hard case is a giant steal me sign.
The most important thing you can do to keep your band van from getting burgled is to just leave it as a plain van. Don't decorate it. Don't put your band logo on it. Don't put stickers on it. Don't make it look like a band van. You, the listener, you, the viewer, if you have items that you maybe have in your studio, in your house, that you think maybe shouldn't belong in this world anymore, make sure you leave a comment. Matt, I'll give you the last item. What's one last thing that you think we could do away with in music instruments today?
Anything that is either way too heavy or way too easy to, become obsolete. If it's just a circuit board, that can't be repaired by your average tech. It just can't.
Literally anything with an iPad connection that's physical should go right in the garbage immediately. So every piece of hardware that you can snap in the iPad. This year they're using this kind of connection, and now they've moved to USB-C and they've given everyone the middle finger. I remember there was the big pin connection,
the 30 pin.
There was the lightning. Don't buy any hardware that requires a different piece of hardware that requires a bunch of software to make your thing work. That's a bad starting point. If it's something that you're trying and testing out and it's got like a phone connection and it's like this app controls this, you better hope that the last time you leave that app, you've left the device or whatever unit you have in a state that you're comfortable with that being that way forever, because at some point they're not going to support the app, they're not going to support the platform, they're not going to support the OS, and now all of a sudden this infinitely customizable amp sim box no longer takes updates. So remember that, kids.
In fact, someday Boss will shut down the Tone Studio.
Yeah.
And the Katana.
It is what it is at that point.
Yep.
So remember that. Always leave things in a condition where if it never turns, can never modify it again, you're pretty happy with it, because tech's great, but be ready for it to stop working. For Matt, this is Jack. This has been Blues Lawyer Confessional. Less fiddling, more playing.